Hey everyone, it's Cosmo, and welcome to another memory card, which is the series where I share my quick thoughts on games I've been playing recently, or just show off something that I think is really cool. And today I want to talk about a couple of games that I recently finished replaying, the first one being World's End Club. This is an adventure, kind of visual novel game by the creators of Danganronpa and Zero Escape. I've talked about both of those on this channel before, but I actually decided to replay this game because I needed to record some footage for my last video on the Danganronpa anime. And I said screw it, I'll just replay the entire game since it's been a while since the last time I played it. And I guess I'll start by saying this game is just as I remembered it. Lots of neat ideas here that feel a bit unfinished, a pretty sad story, maybe too much dialogue that turns the game into a slog once you're in the middle of it, and pretty good art. I'll give you the premise of this game. So, knowing the Danganronpa and Zero Escape games, it's no surprise that World's End Club is all about a killing game as well. They do water it down a bit though, as the story follows a bunch of 12-year-olds. No one actually dies here, and it's called a game of fate instead of anything too menacing. But the last man standing rule still applies. The only way for them to leave the area they've been trapped in is to get rid of the others. Forget all that though, because the game of fate gets cancelled pretty much as soon as it starts. You all make your way out of where you're trapped with the power of friendship, and then you discover that humanity has pretty much ceased. The game then becomes a journey about getting back home and finding out what caused the end of the world. So, as you might expect, there is death, characters express regret. This game even pushed me to tears a couple of times, even though I knew what was coming.
Hey, look how much my hair grew. After you died, I couldn't bring myself to cut it.
You have to remember this story follows a bunch of 12-year-olds, even though some of them look like they're pushing 20, which means this is a kid's story at the end of the day. You'll get as many cute moments where characters bond over things like one-sided crushes, as you'll get as many confusing moments where characters make terrible decisions. Most of those terrible decisions are easy to look past because the characters in this game are so young, and as far as they know, it's the end of the world. But I can't really excuse this game when it does one of my biggest pet peeves, which is introducing problems that can be solved by characters talking to each other, and then not having them talk to each other. And look, I'm okay with these guys acting irrational and having some disputes between themselves, I expect them to, but I don't really like it when the conflict feels so contrived. But I think my largest gripe with the story is a lot of the dialogue could have been cut down. Characters repeat themselves a lot. They over-explain the obvious puzzles. Shut up, I know I have to reverse gravity to get past this robot. That's what I've been doing for the past 2 rooms. You don't have to pause the game every time to tell me this.
Look! There's the...
Okay, we get it, okay. Speaking of which, that's another thing about this game. There are stages in this game where you'll have to do platforming puzzles or fight enemies, and these characters all have these unique abilities. Some of them, like Raicho, can throw stuff really well, and others, like this little gremlin Chuko, can breathe fire. If I had to describe these stages in a word, I would say unpolished. They're a nice change of pace from all the other stages, which consist of nothing but talking, but they're also, it just kind of feels like they're not done yet. Fighting enemies in this game isn't really satisfying, and the puzzles themselves didn't really require that much thought beyond place this item on this pressure plate to open this door, or bait this enemy out so you can trap them or they can defeat themselves. Also, I don't completely understand the decision of putting only some abilities on a timer. I guess it could have been added for the challenge in some of these boss fights where enemies could take advantage of you not being able to hit them, but it only takes like 2 seconds for your ability to recharge, so what's the point of putting it on a timer in the first place? Note, I did play on the easiest difficulty because I kinda wanted to speed through this game, but I still don't really think this game would have given me a hard time on the other difficulty option of normal. If you want something to stick around for when it comes to this game though, then just look at it. This game is so pretty, and all the characters have these charming designs. If it seems familiar at all, that's because they were designed by Take, the same artist who's done work on some of Pokemon's characters since Sun and Moon. And look, I may not be the biggest fan of modern day Pokemon, but I never really had a problem with the character designs. Most character designs. Really though, this game has some very pretty CGs and key art. It was always a treat to look at. And before I move on from Worlds End Club, there actually is one more element of the plot that I want to talk about, concerning something that happens towards the end of the story. Light spoiler warning, I know I said I wouldn't talk about the story in depth, and I'm still not going to, but something is revealed that I think a lot of people are going to be split 50-50 on. So basically, the characters all find out that nearly everything that happened to them up to a certain point was manufactured by the Big Bad. They were still in danger, but not as much as they thought they were. And I'm not gonna lie, that did take some of my investment in this story away. Now, you can say this was the intended effect. As a matter of fact, the characters all felt duped as well when they found this out. But when you tell me most everything that threatened everyone was an illusion up to this point, then yeah, I kind of stopped caring a bit. From that point on, the game had me questioning what is a threat and what isn't. And I didn't really want to deal with that. Not with this game, where the actual supernatural route would have been way more interesting. You know, the only thing that could have made this twist more eye-rolling is if there was some meta shift where it turned out the player was an actual character as well. Yeah, if I'm being honest, this story was a bit disappointing. I do like how you can see the DNA of Zero Escape in Danganronpa, but they didn't really stick the landing here. Oh well. I did actually find a couple of neat things while researching this game. I just discovered there was a manga of Worlds End Club, but it only made it to the end of the Game of Fate, which is like the first hour of the game, before being cancelled. Also, I could only find the first and fourth chapter. It's a bit of a shame to know that the manga was cancelled as well. At the pace this story was moving at, I think I would have enjoyed it a lot more as any other medium. Also, there's like super shameless product placement in this game, almost to the point of parody, and these products save our characters more than a couple of times. Take a look at this, the game's publishers even sent out a care package including some of these snacks to YouTubers who talked about the game. Message to anyone who wants to promote their game, I'll talk about it on this channel if you promise to send me some dollar store snacks and a Switch Pro controller.
Lifeguard is so awesome! It's Caramucho.
Lifeguard! It's Caramucho, of course.
I drank the lifeguard that Tatsum gave me.
Worlds End Club kinda came and went. I remember hearing a little buzz about this game around the time when it came out, but I also haven't really seen anyone mention this game since, even in the circles where you think it would have a following. And I get why. This game is a bit of a disappointment. Not to the same level that I felt with something like Stray Children, but enough so that I don't really recommend this game. Just look at the game's art, you'll have as much fun doing that. Alright, so this is Danganronpa, another episode, Ultra Despair Girls, spin-off to the Danganronpa series. Kind of like I did with my Katamari video, I just want to talk about this game a bit, see where my feelings are on it now. I think this is the most polarizing Danganronpa game. One, because it's the most out there. Other Danganronpa games aren't FPS games. It has its quirks. Also, I'm returning to this game because I recently put out a video on the Danganronpa anime, and in that video I talked about two games. One was Worlds End Club, another was this game right here. And, you know, I kind of just wanted to replay through some of it to remind myself what it was all about. And I did play through a bunch of this game again, but I'm just streaming it right now. I guess this would be my 5th playthrough of it. This game itself, I don't think it's anything to run home about. The only reason why I care about it so much is because it's attached to Danganronpa series. Otherwise, I wouldn't really care about a game like this. It's not your standard FPS either. Notice how we have this weapon. It has an assortment of abilities. But yeah, other than that, I don't really think this game is doing anything too special. It's funny, in the first game, there's like one menacing Monokuma, but here it's like all the enemies are Monokumas and Monokuma variants. Because you actually have a means of defending yourself now, that megaphone hacking gun right there. This game has, I think this game has one of the better Danganronpa stories too. Which is a shame because it's attached to this game. I do enjoy the story a lot, I see as I skip over a bunch of it. I think the best thing about this game are the characters. Really, that's kind of like the case for most Danganronpa games. But I do think we have some of the most interesting characters and dynamics here. Like all these characters, these kids, these warriors of hopes. Probably one of my favorite things to come out of Danganronpa. These are like Junko's little minions that, well, spoiler, she kind of dies in the first game, but these are the little kids that she leaves in her steed to continue to spare, kind of ruin the world with. I don't know, I find them really interesting. They've all been abused. They're all different products of abuse, be it whatever it is. Their identities are shaped by what they've gone through. And I thought that was an interesting way that was more interesting than just bringing back the ultimate abilities and saying like, this character acts this way because they're naturally gifted this way. The children are more interesting in that regard because they still have their natural talents and ultimate abilities and stuff. But as crazy as this is gonna sound, I think abusing them actually made them more interesting. They gave them some depth that the normal ultimates didn't have. This is like Toko's second identity, by the way, genocide check. She's like a psychopath. Speaking of Toko though, she's also one of my favorite, well, I don't want to say favorite characters, but her and Komaru are probably my second favorite part of this game. I like their chemistry. I like the way they interact. They go through some shit together. I enjoy it. I like the way they banter and stuff. I go out of my way usually to get as much dialogue from them as I can. It's not a very difficult game, Ultra Despair Girls. Granted, I have played through it more than a few times, but I don't recall it ever giving me too much trouble. I'm a big fan of the visual identity of this game. I'm a big fan of Danganronpa's visual identity as a whole. But this game has some really neat stuff that I like the HUD. I like the pause menu in particular. Look at this, it's so stylized. See how expressive the characters are? Oh, I can't scroll through the other pages because I don't have anything unlocked. But there are like more portraits on the right side there that you can see. I like the background. I like how the characters are illustrated. Another thing, you can see those Monokumas attacking a dead human over there, but you can also see some children assaulting a dead human right here, and you can just see it all around. They're playing with the Monokumas and all that. The story basically goes that despair is won, the bad guys won, children have taken over. There's a part in this game where this character right here, Toko, you get up. They do something terrible with their character, which is there's a part where Toko gets really mad at the adults. You see the dead adults. She gets mad at the dead adults for not fighting back against all the Monokumas and children. In my video I did on Ultra Despair Girls, I said I was kind of upset with how they handled her character there, because realistically, what are the adults supposed to do against Monokuma and all these children in this state? They're injured, a bunch of them are dead, they're cornered into hiding. It's hard for them to organize, they're in disarray. But she gets mad at the adults for not fighting back. I really hated that plot point for Toko because it just seemed like she was acting really illogical. She was really unsympathetic to everyone, to everything that happened. And I still stand by that point. But as I've replayed through this game, I've also softened up a bit on that viewpoint, because to be fair to Danganronpa, the entire point of the point is hope beats despair. Don't give in to despair. Hope, 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 whatever. And I can't be entirely mad at Toko for, embodying that hope, saying they shouldn't give up in that face of despair. But I mean, look at them. Everywhere you look, dead adults. I think dead adult right there, right there, right there. Dead human pinned up, crucified. I mean, these Monokumas, I'm able to fight back. We're able to fight back against them because I have this hacking gun, this megaphone gun, and she has her genocidal persona. But I mean, what are the humans expected to do? Traditional weaponry doesn't work against them. You can't fight them physically because they have claws in different variants, one of which we're going to see right now, as a matter of fact. Probably the deadliest one to a normal human. This bomber molecule. They also explode upon death. I don't know. It's a stupid thing to get mad over, I think, but I still stand by that point. It just, I didn't like that characterization for Toko. I understand it, but I don't like it. What irritated me about it some more was, she's right. In the end, the humans do fight back against all the kids and stuff. They do win a battle, but it feels unearned because the only way they're able to fight back is through a Deus Ex Machina, which her redemption, her being correct the entire time about them fighting back, well, that only could have happened if they had what they have at the end of the game. Maybe, you know, there are certain games that I've just played a bunch and I kind of do want to get into speedrunning them. This is one of them. I don't know, I feel like I've learned parts of this game in and out. It's always fun when you get a game down like that. Kind of feel that way with Quidon, kind of feel that way with this game, kind of feel that way with... There's another game I can't think of. It's Spy Fiction. Speedrunning is a huge time investment though, so... Yeah, I actually shouldn't have skipped that one. There was something I wanted to show. It would have illustrated my point. I can still talk about it. You see how his arm is bruised? It's because he was trying to beat the fear out of himself. Another way of the game illustrating how their abuse shapes them. His abuse as a child was literally getting beaten, and it shaped him psychologically to beat the negative feelings out of himself. Whoa, where's my aim? Well, why did he just switch to Japanese right there? You know, I complained about Toko kind of being the one to instill hope in everyone when it seemed out of place, but that's also something I like about her character. She's evolved from Danganronpa 1 to this game. She wasn't normally the one who was encouraging people to not give up, but I think that's the influence and effect that Makoto has had on her. And I like that. It shows that, you know, all that talk about not giving up and giving into despair, it actually had an effect on everyone. Granted, Toko did go through her own challenges in Trigger Happy Havoc. She had to leave the killing game as well. But I still like it. I think that's gonna be it. That character, I will say this, that character Monica, she's screwed up in the head. Basically Junko 2.0, whatever. We're moving on.